Ethereum holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Let's waste no more time and take a look at what's happening with the price of ETH and what we could be expecting as we are going further into this upcoming new week ahead of us. So looking across the board at this point, if you follow the channel on a regular day-to-day basis, you guys know what's happening. If not, we're going to talk about what's happening, but specifically, talking about ETH itself, down 2.2% on the daily time frame. As you can see across the board, this type of, negative momentum that we're seeing across the board is having an impact on the broader market. Look at it on a weekly time frame, ETH down 13.1%, and on the monthly down 20%. So it's a clear indication that the market is in a downwards trajectory. And obviously Bitcoin, the king of the market, the leading indicator, when it goes down, it is going to have an impact on everything. And again, even the big boys are down in, like I said, Ethereum, Bitcoin, which of course is dragging the entire market down with it. But let's take a closer look and see what's happening. Before we do that, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in cryptocurrency. So I'm going to start off by taking a look at the price of Ethereum at $3,100 as of recording this update, with the valuation at $374 billion and the 24-hour trading volume at $30.3 billion. So much happening for ETH as of now. As you guys know, there is a big treasury company, that is in lead with Tom Lee. Bitmine, as you guys know, their main focus is to go on the open market, accumulate as much Ethereum as possible, because they are trying to create the biggest and the largest Ethereum treasury. But as far as the ecosystem is concerned, a lot happening. But the price is in a downward trajectory. But this is where the market conditions need to come into play. When the entire market goes down, Ethereum is going to have an impact, believe it or not. But we're going to take a closer look and see what's happening. First and foremost, I want to talk to you guys about the Ethereum dominance. So very, very important indicator to be looking at. And it's starting to show weakness here. Obviously, back on April, we saw it seeing yearly low at 7.3%. Since then, we did see quite a sharp jump, but you're starting to see the dominance starting to cool off here. We were sitting at about 15%. Right now, we're sitting at about 11.8%, and this has changed in just a matter of 2 to 3 months. So definitely a downward trajectory on the dominant side of things. But again, market conditions need to kind of keep in mind. So what does this really mean? This also means that, some of the profit off ETH is either exiting the market, or it's going back into Bitcoin or different altcoins. That could be the case. Any of these three things. But let's take a look at the broader market's dominance itself. So you can see for yourself, dominance is sitting at about 59.5%, meaning about 60% almost is in Bitcoin alone. This has been in a downward trend, but again, nothing to be getting overly excited about, because this can pick up in a snap. But right now, of course, it's in a downward trend, which is great. But you don't want to see the dominance pulling up, especially during conditions that we're in right now, because if the dominance picks up and while the Bitcoin price is going down, that's going to have a negative impact more than what we're seeing right now for altcoins. Bitcoin, on the other hand, you can see for yourself, is currently sitting at $94,462. So far, Bitcoin has been, exactly on track with what we're talking about on this channel. Again, I want you guys to take a look at Bitcoin's price on an hourly time frame. You can see higher high, not higher high, higher lows, totally opposite of that. And you can see for yourself, we are in this downward trajectory for Bitcoin. And even if we were to see a bounce again over the last 24 to 48 hours, we've actually been seeing weakness on Bitcoin side of things. And Bitcoin today, fell down to $93,000. And I still think there is more downside. We do break below 92.3, opens the door for us to start heading up to our main level, which I've talked to you guys about on the channel, at $86,000. So that's about an 8.7% pullback for Bitcoin. That's going to definitely have an impact on ETH. Right now, ETH is holding at a significant level. I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, well, there's so much happening for Ethereum. There's so much good news about ETH. It's been accumulated. Inflows were great not too long ago, but that has slowed down. ETF inflows actually have slowed down on both Bitcoin and ETH side of things, but Bitmine's still going on board and actually buying ETH because, of course, again, their main goal is to create the biggest reserve. But right now we are in a bearish trajectory. This is the first time in the crypto history where we are seeing Q4, which should be bullish, it's being bearish. And, we're kind of reflecting as to, what we have seen in a bear market in terms of Q4 performance. But I've been quite clear, we still have a lot of time till the end of the year is concerned. So about a month and a half still left. A lot can still end up happening. But again, for ETH itself, it was able to reach a new all-time high, just barely a new all-time high at almost $5,000. Since then, the price of ETH is down. You could see 38.17%. But again, Bitcoin is down, so Ethereum is definitely going to have a reaction to that. But to be quite frank with you, Bitcoin right now is not holding as good as Ethereum, in my opinion. Ethereum's still in the 38.2, yet Bitcoin is on the neckline of breaking below the 0.50, which is a very interesting thing to be kind of taking a look at right now. But you could see for yourself, ETH has significant support around the 38.2 fib support line. You could see for yourself. But if we drop below it, unfortunately, ETH could push down, which we introduced ourselves to below this level for the first time since July of this year. Breaking below here opens the door for ETH to start pushing down to $2,800. We don't want to see this happening. As of now, the price is probably able to close above this key range. But if what we saw happen with Bitcoin, something very similar, when Bitcoin dropped below the 38.2, lost the support line, you could see for yourself, and that was below 100K. We saw this downwards trend for BTC pretty much playing out. Again, not surprised at all. Bitcoin fell down an additional 7% after losing the support line. I could see something similar happening with ETH as well, especially if we drop below this key range and close the daily candle below. That would label quite significant amount of weakness, and I think we could go down to the next support line, which itself is, like I said, around 2,800. That itself is about a 7% move from where we currently are, and that's something I want you guys to keep in mind. Obviously, from where we were back on April at $1,400, it has gone substantially up since then. That was a market local bottom for the market, but since then, you could see ETH did go up 245%, which a lot of people overlook. But right now, ETH is in a downward trend. It can definitely drop below with the conditions that we're in the market. Maybe we do see a little bit of an uptick if Bitcoin bounces back up to 100K. Maybe ETH goes back to 3,500-ish zone. But again, ultimately, I still do think ETH has a little bit more downside. It still is, it's a very far off to where it was back in April. If you want to put that into perspective, see for yourself, that's still about a 53.6% move. That would require Bitcoin to break. That will require Bitcoin, in my opinion, to break out of this cycle, this upward cycle, which of course you don't want to see happening. That would label something very bearish. But again, 4-year cycle, right? A lot of people talk about how 4-year cycle is no longer valid anymore. But even if that is the case, as I've highlighted on my market analysis update, that doesn't mean, we're not going to see corrections in, the price of Bitcoin and the market. That's part of the game. And we're seeing that right now. And even if the price of Bitcoin were to come down to 86K, I am still bullish in the long-term perspective, as you know. So next year, we're really going to find out how, the market reacts. Maybe this is the start to new cycle, new phase for crypto. Like I said, next year we're really going to kind of find out. There's so much happening right now for the big boys. Again, ETH has a lot of demand. Bitcoin has a lot of demand. Some of the other altcoins have a lot of demand. As far as the broader altcoin market is concerned, we haven't really seen a lot of excitement since like late last year, but I think that will still end up happening. Not for all the altcoins, but if you're picking the right coins, if your portfolio is perfectly diversified, I think you will end up doing good in the long haul. Obviously, there's definitely still a risk associated to it, but right now, we are in a downwards trajectory. Maybe we do push below 0.50, start heading down to the level that I've just highlighted to you guys. Obviously, in terms of significant support line, we do have a crazy amount of support around $2,500, a level where we were back in June. That could definitely be in play, but right now, that itself is still quite a sharp move towards the downside, about 18.5%. That will require Bitcoin to, pick up, momentum quite heavy on the dominant side of things. Bitcoin to pull below, I think, the 61.8 in order for that to happen. But these are some of the realistic targets to be looking out for ETH in the immediate short term. You don't want to see Ethereum dropping below the 38 point. If it's able to do that, we are open to retest some of these lower levels, and ultimately maybe we do see the bears come in control and come down to $2,500 for ETH. Again, a level to be looking out for. But so far, we gotta focus on this level. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. If you want to see more Ethereum updates, let me know. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX and peace.